Can you imagine being 6 years old? You're lost in this huge wild savanna. It's filled with all sorts of wild and dangerous animals. And you're so exhausted and scared you fall asleep and you wake up to a lion looking down at you. Did you know that the word safari actually means journey or trip in Swahili? Well, in today's episode, we're going to take you down on a safari. Joining me is Mike Saito. He's the boy, now the man, of The Boy and the Lion, and Turk Pipkin, who amongst many things is a renowned author and co-founder with his wife Christy Pipkin of the Nobility Project, a nonprofit that's been responsible for building schools and libraries, bringing quality education all throughout Kenya. Today, Mike is the lead safari guide at the Ritz-Carlton in the Maasai Mara. His story of being lost in the Mara for several days and the lion that protected him is a true story and has become a bit of a legend. That experience is what's carried him to what he does today. And while Turk was doing his work with Nobility, he met Mike. And then, hearing the story about the boy and the lion, he just knew this is a story that really needed to get out there. So both Mike and Turk collaborated, made a plan to get this amazing story out there for all of us to devour. So get ready as Mike and Turk tell us all about going on safaris in the Mara and the wonderful, scary adventure of the boy and the lion. It's so good, I'm sure you'll be imagining the roar of the lion as both of these great guests take us on our safari.
Furry friends and I love them all the same. I'm an animal lover, veterinarian is the name. Let's share some pet stories from heartwarming to strange. Losses and games from wacky to insane. For real. You're now tuned in to For Real with your host, Mark Kyle.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the For Real podcast. Today, I'm going to take everybody, actually all of us are going to take you all on a safari. And I've got two amazing guests, one a really good friend of mine, one that we have mutual friends. So please say hello to Mike Saito and Turk Pipkin.
Hey guys, this is Turk.
Hello friends, my name is Mike. Many people know me being Saito Mike.
Right. Hey Mike, I know your name that you were given at birth is different. Can you tell everybody what your real name is? I know you do Saito Mike just because it's easy for us Americans and people like that, but in Maasai, you're actually known as, can you tell me what that is?
I have two Maasai names, Saitoti Olemorijoi. My name means generosity.
Generosity?
Generosity.
Oh, generosity. Great. That's awesome. I love that name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A couple of things I thought we would do is, one is I want to talk about, I'm going to start with Turk actually. And for you guys that are listening, I've known Turk for a long time. But Turk, can you talk a lot about, I know you're an author in a bunch of books, but let's focus on Nobility for now and what you guys do, because that's kind of how you met Mike, and talk a little bit about that, and then we can bring Mike into the picture.
I'll try to make the long story short. So Nobility the Nobility Project is the name of a nonprofit my wife and I founded. But it was based on a feature film I directed called Nobility, which was a look at the world's problems through the eyes of Nobel laureates. The first was Desmond Tutu, which is pretty good for an Africa connection. And Tutu introduced me to Wangari Maathai, very famous now, a very famous Kenyan woman, the first African woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. For that, she was in the film, and she invited me to come to Kenya, and I fell in love with the place. I shot these movies, or three of these features. I shot them in 27 countries, but Kenya is the place that really grabbed me. And we started planting trees and building schools. We were working with a lot of lodge partners over the years. We've built all or part of about 50 schools in rural Kenya. Anyway, as we work with these lodge partners who help us with these school projects, I've spent a lot of time at a place called Fairmont Mara Safari Club, and very close to where Mike can tell us about it in a minute, where Mike is from, his home village, very close to where this story, The Boy and the Lion, this new book, took place. And Mike started telling me this amazing story, and I thought, well, in addition to the other work we're doing over there in schools, a lot of which was also building libraries, this story needed to be a book, and so we collaborated.
And so that brings in the boy who's now a man and the lion. Mike, tell us a little bit about you when you met Turk. Then I want to get into the story, but one of the things I want to do today, because a lot of people listening, they've probably heard of the Serengeti. They might not have heard of the Mara. So I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about what a safari is. By the way, for you guys listening, it's actually the roots are from Arabia, but it's a Swahili word meaning travel or journey. Correct, Mike?
Very correct.
Yeah. So I'm going to show off a little bit of my Swahili today, but let's talk about you. And I want to go back to the boy, but let's talk about where you grew up. Talk a little bit about the Maasai. A lot of people over here, especially in the U.S., don't know a lot about it. So let's talk about some of who you are, what you are, and who the boy is, and who the boy's become is what it is as a man.
Growing up, I grew up in a typical Maasai village, and I'm a Maasai, proud by birth, and up to now I'm still a Maasai. Because once a Maasai, always a Maasai. And being born in the village, it was like a very typical kind of life to the village and to the savannah. And in the process of growing up, I got lost in the bush when I was a kid, just 6 years old. And this is a story that later changed my story. That the reason why I am a safari guide today, and still that is why I love lions up to today, because lions came into my life when a lioness took care of me, and that is the foundation of Boy and the Lion. So this is a story at a book now based on a true story of what happened to Saitoti Olemorijoi when I was just 6 years old. And right now, I'm a safari guide by profession, currently working for a certain company in Kenya, close to the border of Kenya and Tanzania. And I've worked with Fairmont Mara Safari Club, with Beyond, with Mahali Mzuri, and so on. So I'm an experienced safari guide for the last 8 years.
So actually, you're kind of an experienced one since you were 6 years old, because you went on your own safari and the lion guided you in the story. So you've been doing it a lot longer than that, probably.
Yeah, how the lion came in, maybe we'll get into the book later, but to talk about how nobility came in, how I met Tak and the person who made this book to be on the limelight. Tak is my great friend. Right now, I can call him a family, because he's been my friend for years, and we really did a lot together, and he really helped me develop my communication skills in many ways, including podcasts and so on. So Tak is my friend, real friend. We did a lot of work together. I supported this project of nobility through taking him around to the community, and I'm part of the nobility. I'm proud about that, really, and I'm really proud about what he's doing to the community. And the book came in when I was driving him around from a school to another, from Almeoshi to Emarchi, but that is in the Mara, to a place called Partakila. So every other time he came, sometimes twice a year or once in a year, building schools, opening libraries. And I told him about my story, which I was a bit reserved to tell people. But one day I told him, and this is the turning point and the story where we began to write the book of Boy and the Lion, and Story Moja came in, but all through Tak.
One of the things that for you guys listening, so when you hear the word Mara, it's actually the Maasai Mara, but to everybody that's there and goes there all the time, it's called the Mara. So I'm going to interrupt every now and then. I apologize. For people that don't know, I want to make sure they understand what we're talking about.
To talk about the Maasai Mara, let me make people understand what the Mara is. A Maasai Mara is a Maasai word. There is Maasai, which is the people like myself. And then we have the word Mara, which comes in, and it is a Maasai word that means a spotted land. The Maasai Mara is like an ecosystem. We have conservancies and we have the National Reserve. Right now, I work at the National Reserve, but recently I was working in the conservancy. Talking about the Serengeti, this area is too big, about 9 times bigger than the Maasai Mara. The Maasai Mara is 1,592 square kilometer, and the Serengeti is 9 times bigger than the Mara. So these migrations, great migration that carries about 2.5 million animals, they have a very good space to roam around. So they give birth in the corner of a place called the crater in the Ngorongoro. And after that, 3 months later, they'll start to migrate again into northern part of the Serengeti, into the Maasai Mara, in a clockwise direction, and that is how the circuit goes on.
So, just for guys listening, I've had the opportunity, and I mean, to be able to actually see the Mara. So, even though the Serengeti is so big, the Mara is huge. It's not like a tiny little place. It's really, really big. And so, and I wanted you to talk about that, Mike, because I want to get to the boy and the lion. First of all, one question for you, because I've read the book. I love the book, by the way, and anybody that's listening should get the book, and we can tell you how to get that later. But and I want you to tell the story. But that lion, was that the first lion you'd seen in your with your own eyes when you were 6?
Definitely, yes. That was the first lion that I saw. I never saw a lion before back then.
Wow.
But maybe I had lions roaring from the village. You can hear them roaring in the savannah. But
Right.
that was the first time that I saw a lion.
For real, 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 for real.
And we'll be right back. We are supported by PrepVet, providing stem cell therapy for pets.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at prepvet.com. Save 10% with promo code FurRealPodcast, covered by most pet insurance.
Okay, well, so let's get into the story. I want to hear about the boy and the lion, how it happened, and your experience of that. And then at some point, we'll have Turk read a little excerpt of the book for you guys listening, and definitely make you guys buy the book. But anyways, so go ahead and let's go to your story, Mike.
It was on a Sunday, and my mom went to the market, so she left me with my sister, my elder sister Khadija, and I was really outgoing. I wanted to discover something new, being a young kid of just 6 years old, and I wanted to go and hard. I thought I was not allowed to, according to the how young I was and how rogue the Masai Mara is. It is very wild then, and I insisted to go and look after cows. And at exactly 2 p.m., the rain started from the east. And basically, I was putting on just a little shuka shirt and a shorts. And I was with two herdsmen, one old and responsible, and there is another teenager who is just older than me, maybe around 10, 12 years. And the responsible man told the guy to take me at the point that will take me home. And I think he messed everything because he just took me to the junction and tell me, when you see the junction right there in the front, please take the right. And I was just 6 years. I don't know right, left, or nothing.
I don't either yet. I'm still learning, so I understand.
That is how I picked the wrong direction, the left instead of right. A 6-year-old then cannot tell in the Maasai Mara cannot really tell about direction. So I took left, and it was a game drive road. Just after like 500 meters, it was already raining. It was a little time in Kenya. There was a lot of rain in the year 1997, 97, 98. There was a lot of rains in the Mara then. So just 500 meters, it was raining, and I decided to take a shade under a bush. And this is the bush that I spent the whole night. And waking up in the morning, the first thing I saw, because it was something that I never saw, I never knew what it was, but it was a lioness.
And so again, you're 6 years old. You've heard them roar, but the first time you see one. And by the way, you guys, I said it earlier. It's the word in Swahili for lion is Simba, and anybody who's seen Lion King would know that word because that's what they do. So I would have been really scared at any age, but seeing a lion as a 6-year-old staring at you, that's pretty scary. So what happens next?
I was really scared, but being a baby sometimes will help a lot. I was just very young and I don't know what it is. Later on, I thought it was a pet because after some point later on that day, and even the following day and the third day, I was able to tame that lion. I was able like to social catch and touch that lioness. And later on, I thought it is just a big pet without knowing that it is actually the last day that I came to know that this was something dangerous when people were crying when they saw the lioness, when they were telling me to get into the car, which I was already like struggling into the car. So that is the last point of the story.
So how many days were you out in the bush the whole time?
I was in the bush for 4 nights and 5 days.
Oh my God, everybody probably thought you were gone. So I know a lot of things happened. Other animals were in the story, and I don't want everybody to hear the whole story. I don't want to give the story out. Maybe this is a good time for you, Turk, to read that part that we were talking about, just so people have an idea.
And before I read it, I want to say just like the details that Mike's telling me. He talked about how we started to work on this book. Well, every trip I made to Kenya, and I was seeing Mike at Mara Safari Club. He's at the Ritz Mara now. Every time I was over there, I would have Mike tell me more of this story, often repeating parts he'd told me before because we're just talking it through. The details never changed. It was so amazing, when it's a, I call it the incredible but true story of the boy and lion. There are, as far as I know, there's never been another story like this. And Mike can tell us more about maybe why this lion didn't eat him in a minute after I read this part. But I just was really, I was compelled by this story and by the unique nature of it, and also the incredible sort of adventure of it all, because the book describes the interactions with all these other dangerous animals. Much of the protection, I think, being because of the lion or the smell in the lion. Anyway, you mentioned earlier that I was an author, and I've published 15 books, 2 New York Times bestsellers with Willie Nelson that we co-authored, and I'm as excited about this book as anything I've ever done. It's just really extraordinary. It's currently, we can talk about it later. It's currently available in the UK and Europe and in Africa, and but I'm in conversation with publishers in the US too. So good things coming. This is well into the book. This is, I think, Mike, the hippo is your last morning when you woke up. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the hippo is the chapter's the hippo in the balloon because that's part of the rescue, but I won't get to that part. A strange, loud snorting sound jolted me awake at dawn. I opened my eyes to find enormous, wet nostrils just inches from my face, glistening with moisture, the face of a huge hippopotamus, its skin gray-brown and wrinkled like an old man's face. My body froze against the ground. I held my breath. I closed my eyes. The hippo, and if you've never seen a hippo, it's not in the book, just adding a note, if you've never seen a hippo within, I don't know, 50 yards, it's hard to describe how really, really huge they are. And they have these massive teeth, and they are just incredible. One of the most dangerous animals in the world. So the hippo pressed its massive snout against me. Hot breath hit me. It sprayed me with something wet, sticky, and cold that ran down my neck and chest. I trembled, my heart beating so fast it hurt. I opened my eyes. The hippo's eyes looked at me without blinking. Then it turned away. It continued down the path towards the river, each heavy step making the earth vibrate. That's just a little tiny bit of interaction with all these incredible animals. I mean, a massive giant rock python, elephants, leopards. And Mike, maybe this would be a good time. Why do you think this lioness didn't eat you? You're probably just a little guy. Maybe she didn't think you were big enough for a meal. But
Big enough meal.
why did you think she didn't eat you for 4 days, and instead of eating you, she ended up accompanying you, and then maybe her smell maybe kept these other animals at bay? Tell people what you think about how you survived this story.
Yeah. So later on, with a lot of research and a lot of connectivity that I had with lions later on as a safari guide, I came to realize that lions are very social cats, and maybe they were looking me as just that lioness just looked me as a baby, and innocently they never wanted to attack me out of empathy.
Well, it was a lioness too, so maybe it was just being a mother.
Yeah, maternal instinct. Yeah, that's what Mike was saying.
Yeah, the maternal.
Yeah,
Mike had mentioned earlier about the end of the story after that hippo chapter, and
yeah.
later in that day. Mike, tell us a little bit about the rescue. What did you see that finally led you, after days and days of wandering lost, that led you to a road?
Okay, how the rescue came in is that it all came through the balloon. In the morning, people were flying over me, and I could see them. I was chasing them for help, but nobody could hear me or see me because I was too young to be spotted in the grassland. And later on, they've been looking me for a lot of days, and everybody had news about a lost kid in the Maasai Mara. And that very day, which really turned my life, because that is how I went into life again, is that I was sleeping at the hippo trail, and the hippo woke me up for the last morning, even by touching me, maybe trying to prove what I am. And that is how I woke up. And I saw the balloon flying over me. I tried to chase and flew so fast. A lot of vehicles were following the balloon, and I could not catch any of them. So I came to the road with the lioness, so helpless. I was really weak that day, a lot of days without food, and but there was plenty of water, a good point of it. And when the ballooners, the crews, and the pilots came back, they were going to Fairmont Mara Safari Club. They found me on the road, and that is how, as young as 6 years old, I became a Fairmont kid. Yeah, it was then Londro. And then they took me to the camp. They treated me a lot of malaria in me because of the mosquito that was there.
Well, so what's interesting, because I know you're now with the Ritz, but you work with a Fairmount for a long time. Is that how you got started with being a guide with them? I mean, those are the guys that found you. And by the way, the guys that are listening, when you talk about a balloon, it's a hot air balloon, and a lot of people go on safari with a balloon to see the animals from above. So that's the reason why they were there. But do you think, is that how it ended up being with you being at the Fairmount, Mike? Is because of them finding you and you had a relationship with them after that?
Actually, that is one way. The manager then, who was there when I joined there in the year 2017, Monene Ngodo,
Mm-hmm.
was aware of the story. And even up to now, there is a few staff at Fairmont Mara Safari Club who are there. Those are long surfing buddies who are still there even up to now. And they knew the story. But as well, maybe a lot of hard work and passion really helped me to be the guy that I wanted to be at the Fairmont.
Mm-hmm.
But the story was, everybody was aware of the story in the club, and it really helped me develop the skills of telling the story again and again, because I was not shy, because the story was already in the books. Yes.
So you're a bit of a legend now.
I want to jump in on that. So we were opening. Mike drove me to in June. Mike drove me to back to Old Miyashi Primary to open the new Kenya's switched their education system around a little bit. They now have middle school, junior secondary, and we had built new junior secondary classrooms. And the Belly Project built new classrooms. Mike drove me over there as usual, and we were talking, and this is another interesting part of the book. Our publisher in Kenya, Story Moja Publishers, have been partners of our group. So of the many libraries, about 40 libraries we've built in Kenya, almost all the books after the first few years came from Story Moja Publishers, because rather than shipping books from the U.S., which may or may not appeal to kids over there, and it costs a lot to ship them, there's a carbon associated with that. We buy books in Kenya, you're employing Kenyan authors, a Kenyan publisher, Kenyan artists and designers. And the books are very relevant to the kids in the school. They're by grade and they're by story, and there's course review books. So they're a really great publishing company. Story Moja has put the book out, and the nicest version, the prettiest version, is the one that's in English, and a little bit of a gift shop kind of level book. But they also published the book in Swahili or Kiswahili, which is one of the main languages of Kenya and used in schools very widely along with English. But they've done something that I've never seen before. I've never seen a kid's book or a young person's book that's published in Ma, which is Mike's native tongue, the Maasai language. Mike, how do you say the name of the book in Ma? I mean, I could read it, but you'll say it better than me.
Yeah, so the name of the book is Boy and the Lion. In Maasai, I'll translate this directly as it is written. Engayoni Olowaru. So Engayoni is the boy, and then the lion is end, and then Olowaru is a lion in Maasai.
Cool.
It's very cool that these kids in Maasai lands will be able to go into their school library and go, oh my God, look at this book. This is my language. This is my parents' language. So I don't know. I'm very excited about the whole thing. Excited for Mike, but also excited about the conservation message that goes with it, because Mike has turned into, through all these years, into a conservationist and a great guide. And I'm going to brag on him for 1 second. I mean, I've seen more. I've taken, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of photos of wildlife in Kenya. When you go over there to work with schools, you have these opportunities to see incredible sights. But I've never met anybody in Kenya, I don't think, who's ever seen an elephant born. We were on the very edge of that. A couple of years ago, we went out early one morning to take some photos, and kind of a typical safari. And Mike put on the brakes. We hadn't been out very long. It was very early, just barely getting light. And there was a female elephant who had just almost momentarily before given birth. The baby, the afterbirth, was still laying there. An incredible sight. And we stayed for a couple of hours with the mother and newborn baby while Mike called the rangers to come in their vehicle and to watch over them and make sure that they were a little close to the road. So wanted to be protected. And that Mike's relationship with those rangers and with the community and with these animals is really what makes for a great safari. And, I'll never forget the story of the boy and the lion, but I guarantee I'll also never forget the story of that newborn elephant.
Sure.
And this is part of what makes Kenya such a special place and makes the Mara and the Maasai people such special people.
And we'll be right back. We are supported by PrepVet, providing stem cell therapy for pets.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at prepvet.com. Save 10% with promo code FurRealPodcast, covered by most pet insurance.
One of the things I was hoping you could do, Mike, there's a lot of people listening that probably have never been on safari. And from my personal experience, I can remember the first time I was in Kenya. I mean, I don't know if I want to go on a safari, but once you do it, it's life-changing. It's way different than you would imagine. Can you tell people a little bit from a guide's perspective why people would really like that? And then I want to kind of get into what's going on now with the migration, because I know it's getting real busy these days. Can you talk a little bit about that for people who are listening? Because one, for you guys listening too, is that the book's a great book. I love children's books, and you'll never go wrong. And then of course you'll say, God, I got to hear the legend himself tell the story. So can you talk a little bit about safari and then get into migration so we can let everybody know that, that's listening a little bit about that may want to go on a safari?
Oh, thank you, Mark. This is mentioned earlier that a safari is a Swahili word for a journey. But today, people are making this as a typical travel in form of bush life. And I'm a safari guide experience for the last 8 years. And talking about the Mara, we have a lot to offer when it comes to what we see. We have the big five, which is the biggest thing that people comes for.
Tell everybody what that is, please.
Yeah, so the big five are the elephant, and then we have the rhino, and then we have a buffalo, African Cape buffalo, and then we have the lion and the leopard. Those are the big five. But beside the big five, we still have a lot of beautiful animals to see, including the cheetah, including the Suffolk cat, including the zebras, including the wildebeest, including the elands, and so on. In the Masai Mara itself, we have more than 40 species of antelopes alone. We have, and I think Masai Mara and the Serengeti are one of the areas that are still as typical as they should be. Like, so natural, nothing is totally extinct, and they really worth visiting. Talking about the migration, it happens every year and continuously throughout the year. But the best part to see this migration is in the Masai Mara, because this is where there is a lot of rivers that they crosses, and this is where a lot of businesses of wild beasts crossing the rivers, and then crocodiles coming in to hunt them. Some of them dies in the process, and as well as lions come into the streams and rivers to cut them. It is really exciting to see the migration. Like, for the last 3 months, it has been my best time in the office, because we have these animals crossing the rivers, and then we have these predators, including the crocodiles, the lions, and the leopards. And as well, I've been having a good time, and you'll see a lot of vultures following the migration. It's really fun to watch. And as well, this is the place with the cleanest air, because people might think that because there is a lot of animals, there'll be a lot of carcasses. Funny, you will not see even maybe a single smelling carcass, because always there is a lot of hyenas to clean, always there is a lot of marabou stocks to clean, always there is enough vultures of many species to clean these carcasses, which controls pests and diseases. And this gives the Mara ecosystem one of the best air to breathe in, maybe in the whole world.
That's well, one of the things because I've been there, I've never been there for the Great Migration because it's great any time of the year. And so for you guys listening, if you can't be there at that time, I would think one of the problems with it is it's so busy at that time, and it's become really, really busy these days, hasn't it, Mike? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it seems to me that it's almost like a traffic jam. Is what I hear. Is that true?
A lot of people comes to witness this, but many people will not make it to see the crossings, because one thing about these crossings is that they cross when they want, not when people want. So what I talk about really is about sustainable conservation. Right now, we're trying to solve a lot of challenges, including overcrowding, and the county government of Narok that we work under right now really helped a lot in trying to raise the prices of the park fee to try and control the number of people, because everybody, when they hear about the migration, everybody want to come. So they just decided, because this is one way of limiting the number of people during the high season, they pick their prices from $100 up to $200.
Wow.
And there's a lot of debate on whether that's going to still be enough money to keep the size of the crowds down. But it's not a one size solution, and there's a lot of focus on trying to find a way to make the whole experience be still great for the visitors and not problematic for the animals. I mean, the last thing anybody needs, and that's what the guides are always saying, the good guides, is you cannot. I mean, the regulations don't allow you to, but you really can't crowd these animals. If a lion is on a kill, and there are several lions, and there's a whole pride they're feasting, you can't have 50 cars pushing them from all directions trying to get closer to get a picture.
Right.
So it takes good guides, and some of the challenge, I think, is some of the guys are just drivers from Nairobi, and their tip is based a lot on how good a picture somebody in the van's going to get. So there's broad-based solutions, but one of my solutions is I have been to the migration a lot, and I've had a lot of opportunity to see it. It's a thrill, but it's not my favorite time to go. I like going when there's not huge numbers of people on safari. I love the month of June. It's the coolest month in Kenya. And for people who don't know, you're in the Mara, you're over 5,000 feet in elevation, so it's never hot. But it's particularly cool in June. I like February. November's good. Mike, what are your other times of year that you think is great for safari if you're not doing migration?
Every time in Kenya in the Masai Mara is almost the best time to come to the safari.
I agree.
But the month of April, normally I discourage people a lot about April and a bit of May, because it is a rainy season and floods may happen. So this limits you a lot in accessing many areas of the park. But any other time is a very good time to do game drives in the Masai Mara. But the best time, I'll say, is a migration time. But if you don't like many people to be around you, that is a busy season. So if you want a sighting that you'll be staying in a for photographers, I'll say that maybe that is not the very best time because of pressure of many cars and things like that. But any other time between October, November, December, January, February, March, and then June, July, and then August is so much busy because of Asians like Chinese people. Most of them will come a lot. That is the time that they open their market to the migration and to Kenya. But every other time is a very good time for the safari. And as well, I to add on what Tak just talked about is that the best thing to think about when coming for a safari is having the best guide. Because if you don't have a guide who respects nature, a guide who don't sell sustainable conservation and do safari based on conservation, they'll mess a lot. So right now, another way that the government is trying to do is to ensure that all the guides who are working in the place, like the Maasai Mara, are all trained on safaris and all that. So, which is a really good point of trying to solve the problem of not respecting the wildlife, messing a lot with this natural world.
You don't have to stay at the most expensive lodge. I mean, the Ritz is a Ritz. Obviously, it's a very expensive lodge. Fairmont is a very high quality lodge, not as expensive as that. There are lots of other lodges in the Mara. Um, Mark, you stayed last time you were in the Mara. It's been a few years. Do you remember the name of
The Odoroi that's just right outside of the gate.
Mike? Do you know that place?
Ambient or where?
I think it's called the Odoroi. It's right before the gate as you're coming into the park if you drive in.
On the north side, actually, up closer to.
Olderpoi.
Yeah,
I know Olderpoi. Yes, I heard of Olderpoi.
I've stayed there a bunch of times.
That's a community owned or Maasai owned lodge, correct?
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a Maasai. It's a Maasai owned. Yes.
Yeah, his family's from Iraq or somewhere around there.
Yes.
So if you go to, I guess my point is, whether you stayed in an expensive lodge or one that's less expensive, if you're, we used to always drive to the Mara from Nairobi. It can be anywhere from 5 to 7 hours. It's quite
Oh, yeah.
quite a bumpy road. The last part of it's unpaved, much of it. But once I started taking bush flights, which are not that expensive down there, and just using guides from the lodges, I discovered when you use a guide like Mike or any other local guide who is there and he's out in that area every day, because these guides work. I don't know when's the last time you had a day off, Mike? Yeah.
It's been a lot of days when I'm in office right now. It's a high season, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'll break exactly at the end of the month for 10 days. I'll go see the family.
So when you go with Mike or you go with another local guide at a lodge, they've been driving in that area every day, 6 or 7 days a week, morning and evening, sometimes all day drives. And not only do they know the best place to go find the animals, they can explain who these animals are, where they are. I mean, Mike just took two of my friends up at one of the private conservancies up closer to the Fairmont, and they found baby Turk, this elephant that we witnessed just after birth. And there's no one other than Mike anywhere who could have found that elephant, who's now a couple of years old and quite a big boy. And I just encourage people to, when you go over there, and the animals are great too, but if you're at a lodge, say, I'd like to meet some kids. I'd like to go to a school. I'd like to help a community. I'd like to be a part of this whole thing over here, not just take pictures. And if you really want to have a great journey, a great safari, find a way to be connected to people in Kenya.
And just to add one thing, and I've been on probably, I think on safari 5 or 6 times, maybe more, but not quite more. I can tell anybody that's listening, if you've never been and you have the opportunity, without any exception, you will see all these animals that we're talking about. You're going to, every time, I've never gone without seeing, oh my God, there's an elephant, there's a lion, there's a zebra. It's crazy how amazing it is and how beautiful it is too, by the way. It's absolutely gorgeous when you're there.
Great.
Hey, Turk, one of the things I wanted to get into before we sign off is, I know Story Morge is doing that project that's coming out in 2026. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And Mike and I had how'd you like our launch event in Nairobi with 1,000 kids, Mike? Did you enjoy that?
I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, it was really fun.
One reason why I like a lot about that, just to mention, is that all these young kids will think about conservation, will think about a safari being a good thing, and it was a very good point of selling the idea of conservation to the kids. And when somebody hear this news when they are really young, and when a lot of schools talk about this is planting very good seeds into the kids in Kenya and improve the future of conservation and everything better about that in Kenya. So I really like.
Exactly. Yeah, it was great. It was so much fun. And that leads into what Mark's talking about. That was kind of the announcement of what Story Moja is calling the Wild Legacy campaign. And this campaign is going to be gearing up all through 2026. This is actually pretty early. I believe on July 10th, which is a Global Literacy Day. There's going to be the Wild Legacy Day in Kenya and all over Africa and a lot of Europe, and we may be able to pull some of this together in the States. Story Moja, the idea of this book and a couple of other new conservation books they have that are really good, they want to use these 3 books to motivate really, really large numbers of young people to be more involved in conservation and understanding conservation issues and wanting to be a part of solutions. The Wild Legacy campaign has a goal. They're working with the Guinness Book of World Records to try to have 1 million kids. It's a very audacious and ambitious goal. To have 1 million kids read a segment from the book aloud, and all at the same time as a Guinness Book of World Records.
Wow.
And I am trying to help boost that in the States because I haven't had a chance to catch Mike up on this too. It's preliminary, but I do have one publisher in the U.S. As I'd mentioned, the book's available in the U.K. and Europe and Africa. They sell it at Amazon UK, but that's not for ordering in the US. So the American publisher, we have a publisher who wants to put the book out. I have another one who I have started conversations with, but if we can somehow move fast, we can be, at least getting out with the PR for the American version of the book in time for the Wild Legacy campaign in July. So that'll be fun. And, we'll see if we can they're probably going to want to get Mike away from the migration and guiding for a day or 2 in Nairobi to do PR for that. But, it's always fun to have a new book, and a book that I got to say, everybody who hears this story says, fantastic. I want to see the movie. So maybe.
And it's a children's book that's a true story, which makes it even better.
Yeah, it truly is. In the previous kids book, and there were several versions of it. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, which was made into a huge movie with Chiwetel
Yeah, that was a great book.
Ejiofor, and Nobelity Project we honored William Kamkwamba at our gala in Austin with our Feed the Peace Award. William is the boy who couldn't go to school and went to a little local library and found a book on electricity and figured out how to get parts from a salvage yard and build an electricity generating windmill so he could read books at night in his room. Eventually lit up his whole town, eventually graduated from university in the U.S. But we haven't seen that kind of a true story, kid story from Africa almost since The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. So I'm really excited about this one.
Well, what I like about it too is we got Mike on. The boy became a man, and from doing that, he became a legend to us, but also a top guide for safaris. How awesome is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, thank you, Mark, and thanks to everybody at For Real for digging into this story. There's a whole lot more details in the book, and it's a great story.
So I'm going to get to the point where we tell a joke, but for everybody listening, I'm going to have a way to get a hold of Mike. I'm going to have a way to find the book and all that in the description that's there. If you go to the episode, it'll be in there. So have all that information. Of course, if you've got more questions, you can always email me. But we're gonna go to the joke section. As I always tell everybody, I know you're cringing to do it, and then I know I've got Turk to do it. Mike, I've got Turk to tell a joke. Mike, are you going to tell a joke today or not? I didn't ask you.
I'm ready.
Okay, so for you guys who are listening, though, as I always say, if you've got grandkids, your kids, nieces, nephews, or if you want to be on the show, I'll gladly have you on telling your joke because we always know my jokes are bad. So you can always email me at mkyleforrealpodcast.com with ideas, jokes, whatever. And I promise you I get back to everybody. So with that being said, Turk, I understand you've got a good joke for us. What's your joke today?
This is a terrible joke, but my buddy Eric Weber, he's the chairman of our board of the Nobility Project. We had a board meeting yesterday. I said, "How many times have you been?" "It's 52 for me." Eric said 14, which is still a lot. And Eric and I tell this joke about 5 times a day the whole time we're in Kenya. So Mike's probably heard it a lot. But the question is, why is it so hard to see elephants when they're hiding in a tree? Because they're hiding.
I love that joke because I've heard it a million times from you guys too.
Massively
So I've got
terrible.
one for you. I've got a really bad one for you, Mike, but I want you to guess this one. Okay, you ready, Mike?
Yeah.
So why did the lion lose when he was playing poker?
Oh my, come again.
So why did the lion, when he was playing cards, they were playing poker, why did he lose?
Because he's not used to cars.
No, because he was playing with a cheetah.
Uh,
I know.
Okay. One thing about this.
Okay.
This is my joke, and my joke will come in form of a note, and this is how it goes. A lot of expensive watches, cars like Tesla are made in the US, are made in Germany. Toyota is made in Japan. Guess what is made in Maasai land?
What is made in Maasai land?
Yes. Like you manufacture cars and watches and computers, phones. What do you think we manufacture?
I don't know. What do you manufacture?
Courage and bravery.
Perfect. That's a great one.
This is the only place that a Maasai warrior in those days, not now, can kill a lion without a gun, only by a spear and bare hands.
Well, I know that back in the day, that was when you become a man, right?
Yes.
The beauty of it is now, I'll add a note to that. The beauty of it now is that it's no longer part of becoming a man to go with a spear and kill a lion. And the Maasai people are the ones who are very much a part of the conservation. They understand the value of the ecosystem they live in. Not just because tourists come and that brings money into the community, but because it is their ancient way of life that has served them all this time. And who better to protect it than the Maasai people themselves?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I want to say thank you to Mike. I know you were working today. It's nighttime in Kenya where you are now. I know you're busy. I really appreciate the fact, one, you're getting the story out, but you taking the time to be on here. So, Mike, thanks so much for being on the show.
My pleasure, buddy. And it was very nice meeting you. And it's a thing that we've been planning. And thank you so much.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting over to Kenya and have some Tusker time with you. But anyways,
I can't wait.
And Turk, as you know, I just really appreciate you putting this together. I'm glad you got the story out with Mike, and thanks so much for being on the show.
It's a great podcast, and I'm glad so many people have found it. It's quite amazing that you've built the audience you have already.
Well, it's always about the guest. It's not about me. But lastly, to everybody else that's listening, please keep listening, keep following, spread the word. I love getting stories out like this. Buy the book, find out about the book. Go on safari if you haven't done it. But most importantly, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening.
That concludes this episode of For Real with your host, Mark Kyle. For previous and future episodes of For Real, listen via all major podcast streaming sites.